You are the master of your fate. Let's begin. Listen to me, because I know what it feels like to get down on your knees, pray with everything inside you, and walk away feeling like God didn't hear a word you said. I know what it's like to wait, to ask, to plead, and then to wait some more. You think to yourself, why does heaven feel so quiet when I need it most? And if you're anything like the people I worked with during my lifetime, the millionaires, the empire builders, the seekers of success, you've probably thought something along the lines of, maybe God doesn't care about me. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm being punished. Let me stop you right there. That kind of thinking, it's not faith. It's not spiritual. It's fear dressed up in religious clothing. It's a poor man's theology that turns divine silence into self-pity. Let me offer you a different truth. God isn't ignoring you. You're just not moving. See, you've been waiting on God to answer your prayer, but what if the answer already came? What if the silence is not a lack of love, but a divine test of obedience? What if you've been standing still, asking for a map, when God already gave you a compass and said, start walking? I want you to look at your life right now, the way it is. You've been stuck in the same job for 5 years. Your dreams are still locked in notebooks and daydreams. Your habits haven't shifted, and your prayers, they've turned into complaints with fancy punctuation. You say, God, show me the way, but what did you do the last time you lit the path? Let me put it to you plainly. You're not being ignored, you're being expected. God expects movement from you, forward motion, not perfection, not performance, just progress. If I had $1 for every man who told me, I'm just waiting on God, I could have built 100 more libraries. Waiting can be a disguise for fear. It's easier to say I'm praying on it than to say I'm scared to act. But here's something every giant of history knew: Carnegie, Ford, Edison. They didn't wait for signs in the sky. They acted, and through their action, clarity came. You think prayer is just words. No, real prayer is what you do after Amen. Prayer is not a substitute for strategy. Prayer is not an excuse to avoid discomfort. Prayer is alignment, it's permission. But action is participation. When I hear people say, God's not talking to me, I don't doubt their sincerity. I doubt their follow-through. Because the God I've come to know, he often speaks once and then watches to see what you'll do with it. He doesn't need to repeat himself if you ignored him the first time. Let me ask you directly, what's the last thing God placed in your heart? The idea, the instruction, the conviction. Did you act on it? Did you move? Or did you file it away, tell yourself you'd do it when the timing's better, and then go back to your comfort zone? And now here you are, asking for a sign, while the first sign still sits unopened inside your own spirit. You don't need more signs. You need more courage. This is just the beginning, friend. The silence you're hearing, that's not distance. That's expectation. God is watching to see if you're ready to move without a round of applause. And the moment you do, even if it's small, even if you feel unready, you'll find he was never far away. He was just waiting for you. Now tell me, are you ready to move? Because if you are, the next section will tell you exactly why God hasn't been answering and how to change that. Now that I've got your attention, let me speak plainly. You can't walk into the next season of your life with unfinished business trailing behind you like a shadow. You're asking for new instructions from God, but you haven't followed the last ones he gave you. That's not faith. That's spiritual procrastination. And listen, I say this not to shame you, but to awaken you. You say, Lord, show me what to do next. But he already did. You're just hoping he'll change the answer. Maybe he told you to forgive, and you're still rehearsing the pain. Maybe he told you to leave a toxic environment, and you're still sitting there, rationalizing your comfort. Maybe he told you to write that book, start that business, end that relationship, clean your life up, say yes, say no, and you said, not yet. Now you're back on your knees asking for a breakthrough, and heaven's answer is still the same. Obey what I already told you. Let me tell you something I learned from studying every successful man I ever interviewed. Whether it was Andrew Carnegie or Henry Ford, they shared one trait above all else. They took action when the message came, not when it was convenient, not when their emotions agreed, but the moment it struck their spirit, they moved. What makes a man successful is not how much he knows, it's how quickly he acts on what he knows. It's easy to pretend we're waiting for clarity when the truth is, we're avoiding responsibility. You don't need more confirmation, you need more conviction. Let me give you a rule to live by. Delayed obedience is disobedience in disguise. And don't be fooled, your spirit knows the truth. That tension you feel, that inner anxiety, that's not the devil, that's not confusion, that's conviction left unanswered. Because every time you ignore a divine nudge, you train your mind to tolerate spiritual dullness. You start mistaking silence for absence. You stop expecting clarity. You normalize stagnation. And then you wonder why life feels like it's on hold. Friend, you're not stuck. You're stalled. Because movement only happens when obedience becomes non-negotiable. God is not your assistant. He's not here to cater to your timeline. He's your creator, and he gives wisdom to be used, not hoarded. Here's the truth. If you're serious about changing your life, you have to stop treating divine instruction like a suggestion. It's a command for your good, for your future, for your freedom. So let's get practical. Think back. What's one thing you were supposed to do but didn't? One conversation you've been avoiding. One step you promised yourself you'd take when you felt ready. That's your work. That's your prayer answered. And until you move on it, you're standing at a red light begging for green, while your foot isn't even on the gas. Let me leave you with this. God's not ghosting you. He's guiding you, but his voice is clearest on the road of obedience. You want fresh revelation. Obey the last instruction. You want breakthrough. Break your habit of delay. Because once you move, once you act in faith, the next door always opens. Always. Let me shake you out of something dangerous. Prayer is powerful. It's sacred. It aligns your spirit and anchors your purpose. But prayer, like any powerful thing, can be misused. There's a moment when prayer stops being preparation and starts being procrastination. I've seen it. I've done it. And I'm telling you right now, if you're using prayer to stall action, you're not being spiritual, you're being afraid. See, most people don't need more time on their knees. They need to get off their knees and move their feet. I've watched men pray for success while rejecting discipline. Women pray for love while entertaining people they know are wrong for them. Entrepreneurs pray for a breakthrough while ignoring every instruction they've already been given. And then they say, I'm just waiting on God. No, friend, you're not waiting on God. God's waiting on you. I once said, and I still mean it, that faith without action is dead. But let me take it further. Prayer without obedience is just spiritual noise. There comes a point when your lack of movement isn't about seeking clarity, it's about avoiding commitment. It's easier to talk to God than to do what God said. And so you make prayer your excuse to avoid change. You think you're being holy, but you're really being passive. Now don't misunderstand me. I'm not telling you to stop praying. I'm telling you to stop hiding behind prayer. Stop using it to delay the uncomfortable work. Stop waiting for peace to do what you already know is right. You will not always feel peaceful when doing what's right. You will often feel afraid, exposed, challenged, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Some of the greatest moments in my life, and in the lives of the giants I studied, came before the feelings showed up. They made moves first, then the courage caught up. Let me give you an example. Thomas Edison didn't pray for a light bulb and then wait for one to appear. He worked. He failed. He tried again over 1,000 times. Did he believe? Absolutely. But his belief wasn't passive. It was practical. He believed so deeply that he kept showing up when others quit. That's real faith. That's prayer in motion. So how do you snap out of this trap? Here's the formula. 1. Pray first, briefly. Center yourself, ask for clarity. 2. Write down the last instruction or nudge you felt. 3. Act on it. Now, not next week, not when you feel like it. Now. 4. Repeat, and let your life become proof that faith moves mountains. Not from begging, but from building. Here's a simple test. If your prayers haven't changed your behavior, they haven't reached your heart. If they haven't driven you to move, they haven't finished their work. Remember this, the answers to your deepest prayers often wait on the other side of uncomfortable action. God doesn't just bless prayers, he blesses obedient momentum. So the next time you find yourself praying over and over about the same thing, ask yourself, am I praying or avoiding? And if it's avoidance, you know what to do. Get up, get moving, get obedient, then watch what happens. Let me tell you what nobody ever says loudly enough. Obedience is not flashy, but it is powerful. When you finally obey the thing you've been avoiding, not the dramatic thing, not the big public gesture, but the quiet, uncomfortable, personal instruction you've been pushing aside, something shifts. And I don't just mean spiritually. I mean in your mind, your body, your world. You feel it. It's like a door that wouldn't open suddenly unlocks. Like the fog in your thoughts clears. Like resistance drops its fists. That's alignment. Alignment is when your actions, your thoughts, and your purpose finally stop fighting each other. It's when you stop asking God to bless a path you were never told to walk, and instead walk the one that's already blessed. People make obedience sound like punishment, like it's about rules and suffering. That's nonsense. Obedience isn't restriction. It's a shortcut to freedom. It takes you where 10 years of hustle won't. I've seen men build businesses with raw ambition, only to watch them collapse from burnout and bitterness. Then I've seen quiet men with no platform, no applause, obey one inner prompting, and walk into favor that couldn't be explained. That's the difference between forcing your way forward and flowing with your assignment. Obedience doesn't mean everything becomes easy. It means you stop dragging dead weight behind you. It means you're no longer climbing a mountain that wasn't yours to climb in the first place. Let me be blunt. If your life feels like a constant grind, if you're exhausted, frustrated, or confused despite your effort, the problem may not be effort. It might be misalignment. Ask yourself this: am I still entertaining something I know I was told to release? Am I still ignoring something I know I was called to start? Am I making decisions from fear or from clarity? The answers to those questions will show you where your obedience is lacking. And here's the thing: God doesn't shout when you get off track. He whispers. He lets you feel the friction. He lets the blessings dry up. He lets the peace disappear, not because he's punishing you, but because he's trying to nudge you back into alignment. Alignment feels like peace that doesn't match your circumstances, energy in the absence of sleep, clarity in the middle of chaos, flow instead of force. It's not just about external success. It's about internal congruence. You stop lying to yourself. You stop hiding behind excuses, and you start walking with the wind at your back instead of in your face. Now I want to warn you. The moment you finally obey, the moment you say yes to what you've been resisting, it won't come with trumpets or confetti. Don't expect applause. Expect resistance, because obedience breaks cycles, and everything in your life that was built on your disobedience, toxic relationships, bad habits, comfort zones, will scream to keep you in place. But hold the line, because once you step into alignment, you'll start to attract things without chasing. Opportunities will show up that match the real you, not the masked version. People will leave, yes, but better ones will come. Doors will close, and better ones will open. Obedience doesn't cost as much as disobedience does. So let me ask you plainly, what have you been told to do that you keep postponing? What's small, yes, have you been sitting on while praying for a miracle? It doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe it's ending something you know isn't right, starting something that scares you, saying no more often, saying yes when it's inconvenient. Whatever it is, obey. Not perfectly, just honestly. And you'll feel it, that click, that inner alignment. And from there, everything changes. Now listen closely. Faith is not passive. It never has been. Somewhere along the way, people began confusing faith with waiting. They began to believe that if they just sat still long enough, if they prayed hard enough, if they wished strong enough, everything would magically shift. Let me correct that lie right now. God moves when you do, and not a moment before. I'm not saying God doesn't respond to your heart. He absolutely does. But God doesn't reward indecision. He doesn't pour blessing into a life that's paralyzed by fear, self-pity, or apathy. Faith without motion is fantasy. You see, I've spent my life studying the greatest achievers, men and women who faced impossibility with nothing but belief and action. And do you know what every single one of them had? They moved, even when they were unsure, even when the plan wasn't perfect, even when they were afraid. They took the first step, and that's when life started responding. Action activates alignment. God's guidance often doesn't show up until you start walking. Think about it like this. You're asking for GPS directions, but you haven't started the car. How can God direct a parked life? You want the job, but won't send the application. You want the healing, but won't change the habit. You want the purpose, but keep running from discipline. You want your life to transform, but you haven't transformed your morning yet. Faith is not just believing God will move. It's showing him that you will too. And hear me, it doesn't have to be a big leap. One email, one hard conversation, 1 hour of focused effort, one uncomfortable yes. That's all it takes to break momentum free. Now some of you say, but I'm waiting for a sign. Let me ask you this. What if the sign is that you're still waiting? What if every delay, every quiet day, every door that didn't open was heaven waiting on you to take responsibility for what's already been placed in your hands? You don't need confirmation to obey what you already know is right. You don't need motivation to start. You need decision. You need movement. You need to stop praying for paths and start walking the one in front of you. That's how faith really works. Let me tell you a truth from my own life. I didn't write Think and Grow Rich because I had a perfect plan. I wrote it because I had a fire in my chest that wouldn't let me stay silent. I didn't wait for publishers to find me. I started, I spoke, I taught. And little by little, the world began to respond. The resources came, the opportunities appeared, but only after I took the risk. The world, God, opportunity, people, they all respond to one thing: your movement. Stillness is necessary in the soul, yes, but not in your life. Stillness is a place you return to for clarity, not a place you stay out of fear. You have to take the first uncomfortable step, then the second, then keep going until your legs no longer shake when you walk into rooms you used to pray to enter. I'll say this again for the man who's been stuck for years. Your breakthrough is in the step you won't take, not in the prayer you keep repeating, not in the video you keep replaying, in the thing you're avoiding because it's hard. That's where God is waiting. And when you take that step, that leap, that yes, He doesn't just meet you halfway. He overwhelms your life with force, because obedience is the signal, movement is the prayer, and action is the evidence of faith. So get up, make the call, start the page, clean the room, leave what's hurting you, build what's calling you, and do it today, because the second you move, everything moves with you. Let me give it to you straight. God is not in the business of rewarding feelings. He rewards action. Too many people are waiting to feel ready, to feel strong, to feel inspired, to feel worthy. But let me ask you something you may not want to answer. How many dreams have you buried waiting on a feeling? How many callings have you ignored because motivation didn't show up that morning? Motivation is the mood. Movement is the decision. And God, the universe, life, the laws of cause and effect, they respond to decision, not desire, not wishful thinking, not when the timing is right. They respond to forward motion. You don't need another quote. You don't need another podcast. You don't need one more YouTube video to confirm what you already know inside. You need to move. Motivation is fickle. Some days it shows up, some days it doesn't. But movement creates its own momentum. Do you know what I've seen in the most successful people I ever studied? They didn't trust motivation. They trusted habit. They trusted grit. They trusted that if they showed up long enough, strong enough, often enough, the reward would come. And it did. Now listen, I know you've been discouraged. I know it feels like all your effort hasn't changed much. But hear me, movement always matters. Because when you move, you align yourself with power, with clarity, with purpose. God doesn't steer parked cars. He speaks to the man who walks. He blesses the woman who dares to rise without feeling ready. He multiplies what you do, not what you think about doing. I'll put it like this. Most people are motivation addicts. They chase the high, the emotional surge, but the moment resistance shows up, they stop. And then they wonder why their life is still the same. I'm going to say something hard, and I want you to sit with it. Your results are not the fault of your motivation. They're the result of your hesitation. While you're sitting in doubt, the clock is moving. While you're arguing with your inner critic, someone else is stepping into what you said was yours. Because you hesitated. Now here's the truth I learned through pain. Discipline delivers what motivation never will. The daily decision to speak power, to take action, to ignore the emotions that beg for comfort. That's where transformation happens. And God honors that. God rewards the man who sweats without applause, who writes without an audience, who shows up when no one is watching. Because that man is showing faith. And faith without works, not feelings, is dead. So let me ask you again. What if the very thing you're waiting on God to do, He's waiting on you to take responsibility for? What if heaven has been aligned, the blessing prepared, the resources gathered, but the signal hasn't been given because you haven't moved? Don't wait on a mood to lead your life. Don't wait on motivation to build your destiny. Don't wait on a breakthrough before you take the first swing. Move first, then the reward follows. It's not about getting hyped. It's about getting honest. Do you really want it? Then prove it with your steps, with your calendar, with your habits, with your focus. Because this world, my friend, does not respond to feelings. It responds to force, to faith in motion, to a man or woman who refuses to sit still, while greatness calls their name. So today, while others are still talking about what they'll do, you get up and do it. Remember, your success begins the moment you decide to act.